Good morning, everyone. My name is Adam Livingston, and I am the Bitcoin Wizard. Welcome to the part of your life where you finally admit that the government has the same relationship to your money that a hungry raccoon has to an unlocked garbage can. Every crisis in history always ends with someone in power saying that they need temporary control, and temporary always becomes permanent faster than your bank can freeze your account for suspicious behavior like buying extra coffee. People continue to pretend that the system, our government, is this stable monolith out there, but that is wrong. Our system is a tower that is held together by duct tape and expired trust. Every single time that a politician squints at a chart, a new emergency rule appears that deletes someone's life savings. You wake up one morning and discover that your bank decided that you are a potential threat because you donated to a cause or said something spicy online or simply exist in a jurisdiction that they want to punish this week. Bitcoin self-custody is the only move that gives you any control in this circus. Every historical example that I will cover shows the exact same pattern throughout history. Governments panic, banks just follow orders, and citizens lose access, and the rules always get rewritten. People try to complain, but the only response that they get is a help desk agent reading a script written by a lawyer who probably hates the public as much as his student loans. My presentation today is a warning for you all. If you want your money to survive contact with government, with a regulator, a bank crisis, or an unelected bureaucrat having a bad morning, you need self-custody. The people in charge of our institutions have repeatedly proven that our financial safety is optional to them. Remember, folks, their priorities are preserving the institutions, collecting data, controlling movement, and making sure that you stay obedient like the tax cattle that you are. Bitcoin and self-custody is the only thing that shifts power back toward you, and if that scares them, that's great. They have been scaring everyone else for decades. But before I get to it, I really want to give a quick thank you to Horizon for sponsoring this video. Fun fact for you, we all know that the fiat system is terminal because the money printer must print, and you can launch your own speculative attack against the fiat system. Yes, I'm talking about borrowing in a failing currency and buying digital orange immortality. Horizon helps you take your home equity denominated in fiat, literally your home equity that you've been sitting on for generations. They help you take that and buy Bitcoin with it. Your home equity that's giving you almost nothing, then buying Bitcoin with your home equity. It's glorious. Join Horizon.com. They will help you every single step of the way. I will talk more about them at the end of the video. People act shocked when I say the financial system can turn on you without warning, but the reality is I am not predicting anything. I am simply reading the receipts. Governments have already done the things everyone insists that they would never do. Canada literally froze bank accounts because citizens annoyed the wrong politicians. There was no due process. There was no trial, just instant financial lockout because someone in an office decided that your protest made them uncomfortable. This is the modern version of a loyalty test, and millions of people passed it by pretending that it was normal. 10 years ago, Greece shut down its banking system for almost 3 weeks. Citizens stood in line like they were trying to buy concert tickets, waiting for permission to access their own savings. Withdrawal limits near 60 euros per day turned an entire country into a real-time example of what happens when trust evaporates. Cyprus in 2013 took 47.5% of large deposits. That event permanently changed the meaning of the word bank account. It became a reminder that deposits at the end of the day are suggestions, not guarantees. Fun fact for you, if you didn't know this, India in 2016, they literally deleted the currency overnight. And no, I'm not exaggerating, they deleted it. Citizens woke up to long lines, cash shortages, and chaos because the government decided to play monetary musical chairs at national scale. And what do you see here? What's in common with all of these events? Well, I can tell you they're not ancient history. They literally happened in the last decade. They are proof that governments treat your money as something that they can adjust. They can freeze, shrink, or invalidate whenever they need a shortcut to keep them entrenched in their power. Bitcoin self-custody is the only tool that interrupts this immoral and unethical behavior. If your money depends on a government staying calm, congratulations. congratulations, you don't have money. You have a conditional privilege that expires the moment that they panic. Every time someone tells me the government would never take people's assets, I wonder if they have ever opened a history book or if they treat history the same way that the IRS treats taxpayer rights. In 1933, the United States shut down the banking system nationwide. One announcement and the entire country lost access to its savings. People stood outside locked bank doors while the officials explained that the shutdown was for their own good. That phrase has been used in every authoritarian moment in modern history. Then came Executive Order 6102, this absolute classic moment where the government forced citizens to surrender their gold under threats of fines and imprisonment. People gave up their money because they feared the government more than criminals. The government then revalued gold to strengthen its own position. Citizens watched their purchasing power get diluted by the exact institution that claimed to be protecting them. Make that make sense. And if anyone out there only think that money gets seized, well, look at the year 1942. Over 120,000 Japanese Americans were forcibly stripped from their homes and stripped of property through Executive Order 9066. Businesses, farms, savings, personal belongings were taken with almost no recourse. Innocent families lost everything because the government decided that their existence was inconvenient during wartime. All of these events, these were not mistakes. These were deliberate decisions made by people in power with access to force and legal authority. Once the government decides that it needs your assets or your rights, the debate is over. You just act and then you comply. But that pattern has never changed ever. Bitcoin self-custody is the first tool in a long time that allows citizens to push back without asking for permission. History does not show respect for trust. History shows consequences for people who assumed that they were safe. This is a fun one. Civil asset forfeiture proves that the government does not need a conviction to take your property. They don't even need charges, in fact. They just need suspicion, which is a word for whatever the officer felt that day. Did you know that since the year 2000, the authorities have taken more than $68.8 billion from Americans? Most of the seizures are very small, which means that they are hitting regular people, not cartel bosses. The average target is someone who made the mistake of carrying cash while living in a country that treats cash like it's contraband. Operation Choke Point here showed another layer of the system. This is a very fun story. Federal pressure made banks shut down accounts of legal businesses because regulators wanted to punish entire industries without passing legislation. How convenient. So think the firearm stores, think payday lenders, companies that the government happened to dislike at that moment in time. They lost access to banking without a trial or a crime. This is the financial punishment delivered through private institutions so politicians can just deny responsibility. Debanking out there already exists. That's been very obvious. Ask anyone who's had their accounts closed with a vague letter claiming risk concerns. The decision does not even require wrongdoing either. That's what's amazing. It literally requires a compliance officer who feels safer removing you from their customer list than answering questions from any regulators. This is the real environment that we live in. This is not fan fiction. This isn't science fiction. This is reality. Your money stays available only as long as the system sees you as compliant. One change in political pressure and everything that you rely on can disappear in the blink of an eye. Bitcoin self-custody removes the leverage that they gain from controlling custody and access. They cannot freeze what they cannot reach, and that is a beautiful thing. They can never seize what you hold directly. The record shows a very clear pattern. People who trust the system end up learning how fast the system removes that trust. People who self-custody do not wait for that lesson. Welcome to the surveillance slide. This is the part where government pretends it's fighting a crime that doesn't exist while they are tracking your entire existence like a jealous ex with a badge. The Bank Secrecy Act requires banks to report you for withdrawing more than $10,000 of your own money. You walk up to a counter, you ask for cash. Suddenly, the bank employee treats you like you are funding an underground coup because you want to buy furniture without getting ripped off. Suspicious activity reports are even better. Do you know what these things are? These things are the banks. They file these behind your back for transactions that confuse them. Buy crypto, red flag. Send a wire, red flag. Move your own money in a way that does not fit their spreadsheet, another red flag. A computer in a basement somewhere now has your name on a list because you dared to behave like a free adult. Fun fact for you, this took surveillance international. The United States convinced foreign banks to spy on American citizens in exchange for access to US markets. That's correct. Every major financial institution on earth became an unpaid intern for the Internal Revenue Service. I'm not making this up. This is literally the global version of Neighborhood Watch, except the neighborhood is an entire planet and the watch never goes off duty. And we know that the CBDCs are coming. They are the government's dream project. China rolls out the digital yuan, and suddenly every transaction is visible and traceable. Spend money in a way that the officials dislike and the system reacts instantly. How nice. How amazing for them. Western governments promised that they would never use these features, which is the funniest line in this entire presentation. Bitcoin on an exchange unfortunately sits inside of this surveillance grid. Every transaction is logged, analyzed, and packaged for regulators like a care package of your privacy. Self-custody breaks this obsession. When you hold your keys, you interrupt a surveillance machine that has never been audited and has never been restrained. If you think that I am sounding paranoid at this point, congratulations. You are paying attention. Welcome to the custodial failure slide. This is the part where we look at the financial institutions that people trusted and realize they had the structural integrity of a wet tissue. Every time someone says exchanges are safe, I remember Mt. Gox. The biggest exchange in the world lost hundreds of thousands of customer Bitcoin like a guy losing change in a couch. Years later, people still wait for compensation while the bankruptcy court moves slower than the DMV during a staffing crisis. Then we all know that FTX showed up and said, hey, we can beat that record. $8 billion evaporated because the leadership seemed to run the company like a college group project where no one slept and everyone had access to customer funds. 1 million users woke up locked out, staring at the withdrawal page like it was a memorial. Celsius promised yield. We all know about Celsius. This is another classic story. They promised the yield, they promised community, they promised innovation. What customers got was their withdrawals frozen, billions trapped, and executives explaining the situation using corporate phrases that translate to "we lost everything and we hope that you do not riot." People had their life savings in a company that reacted to insolvency by tweeting inspirational quotes. And just when you think it cannot get worse, Synapse collapsed and more than 100,000 Americans were locked out of their fintech accounts. How sad. These people used modern apps with shiny logos and discovered the infrastructure was powered by vibes. Bitcoin did not fail in any of these disasters. Exchanges failed, CEOs failed, regulators failed, customers without self-custody, they took the hits. The pattern is repeatable, the pattern is predictable, the pattern continues until people stop giving strangers control of their assets and start using tools that cannot be drained by a bad balance sheet or some reckless executive. Self-custody is not extreme. Trusting these institutions again is extreme. These collapses are the warning signs that everyone pretends are isolated events because the truth just terrifies them. Here we are at the final slide where people usually expect calm advice and a polite summary. There is no calm advice today. The world is run by institutions that treat your financial freedom like a coupon that expires the moments that they feel stressed. The only reason that they have control is because people keep handing them custody like it's a moral duty. But self-custody changes the balance. You hold your own keys and you stop begging for permission to access the money that you earned. The government cannot freeze a withdrawal request that never goes through their system. A bank cannot delay a transaction it never processes. A failed exchange cannot lose coins it never held. This is not apocalypse culture. This is adulthood. Exchanges collapse, governments panic, banks malfunction, politicians rewrite rules on live television, then congratulate themselves while citizens absorb absorb the consequences. Self-custody removes the leverage that they use to trap people in these failures. Start small, move Bitcoin off an exchange, use a hardware wallet, test your recovery phrase. Do it carefully, do it slowly. The point is to take responsibility for the one asset in your life that gives you an exit from financial chaos created by people who never face any consequences. Every crisis in this presentation shows one lesson at the end of the day. Waiting for institutions to protect your life savings is a losing bet. They will always save themselves first. They will rescue their friends second. You will be somewhere near the bottom, waiting for a phone call that never comes. Self-custody is the only step in this entire system where you make the rules. Once you take control, the fear disappears, the panic disappears, the excuses disappear. You get your money back in your hands where it belongs, and suddenly the world looks different because you finally stopped trusting people who have earned more of your trust. If that idea feels extreme, ask yourself which part of the last 100 years has been normal. The world is chaotic. Institutions are fragile. Self-custody is sanity in a fallen world. My name is Adam Livingston. I am the Bitcoin Wizard. I hope you enjoyed this content. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel, as I am a warrior on the front lines fighting for Bitcoin adoption every single day. And the orange gospel, the orange singularity of Bitcoin, is inevitable. Leave a comment with what content you want to hear next, and have a terrific day. Do not party too hard. Class dismissed. Once again, a special thanks to Horizon for sponsoring this video. Most people don't realize this, but on average, 60% of American homeowners' net worth is locked up in their primary residence. And with home prices more inflated than ever, Americans now sit on a combined $35 trillion in home equity. Now there's a way to unlock that trapped capital and put it to work in Bitcoin. Horizon helps homeowners unlock a portion of their home equity to buy Bitcoin. It is not a loan, so there are no new monthly payments. You keep living in your home as usual, and then later when you sell, refinance, or choose to settle early, Horizon's provider takes an agreed share of your home's future value. That is the trade. Unlock cash now to stack Bitcoin by selling a slice of your home's future value while you continue living in it. What makes Horizon stand out is that there are no term limits and you keep 100% of the Bitcoin upside. The Bitcoin is fully yours to custody however you want, wherever you want, with no risk of forced liquidation. If you've been sitting on a pile of home equity and are eager to invest in Bitcoin, this may be the product for you. Visit joinhorizon.com to see if you qualify and get started. Their team of experts will work with you one-on-one from start to finish. Transform your dormant home equity into Bitcoin today with Horizon.